They called her an attachment, said the word like it tasted bad. The Black Hawk had barely settled on the Afghan dust strip when the laughter started. 11 Navy SEALs climbed out, heavy with gear, eyes sharp, bodies tuned for war. Behind them stepped a girl who looked like she'd wandered onto the wrong flight. Too young, too light, rifle almost as tall as she was. 18 years old, brown hair tied tight, face unreadable, no unit patch, no rank insignia anyone recognized. One the SEALs snorted. Who let the kid bring her science fair project to war? Another chuckled. Must be somebody's niece. The team leader, Chief Mason Reed, didn't laugh, but he didn't shut it down either. He glanced at the clipboard handed to him by command. Attachment, civilian liaison / marksmanship specialist, age 18. Reed frowned. This a joke? The officer shrugged. Orders from higher. She observes. Doesn't interfere. The girl said nothing. Her name was Evelyn Cross, but no one bothered to ask. They marched her to the firing range outside the forward operating base. Heat shimmered over the dirt. Targets stood at distances most soldiers wouldn't even attempt without optics tuned and time to breathe. A SEAL named Rourke leaned toward another. I'll give her 5 minutes before she cries. They handed her a standard issue sniper rifle, almost mocking. No custom build, no adjustments. Ever fire one of these, kid? Rourke asked. She nodded once. They ran drills. The SEALs shot tight groups, professional, lethal. When Evelyn's turn came, someone muttered, "Let's see the attachment embarrass herself." She lay prone, calm, still in showmanship. No bravado. She fired. The first round hit dead center, at a range that made a few brows lift. The second round cut the first hole clean. The third vanished into the same space. Silence crept in. Rourke squinted. Lucky grouping. They moved the target back, farther than standard qualification. Wind picked up. She adjusted without being told. 3 more shots. All hits. Reed stepped forward slowly. Again. They pushed the target even farther, past what the base range was designed for. Evelyn inhaled once. Exhaled. Crack. The steel rang. Not once. Not twice. Every single round a SEAL cursed under his breath. Rourke laughed nervously. Okay, kid's got a trick. Reed crossed his arms. Where did you learn to shoot like that? She finally spoke. Her voice was quiet. Flat. My father trained me. Before he was killed. No one laughed after that. That night, intelligence came in fast and ugly. A hostile cell had been tracking coalition patrols through the valley. Multiple confirmed sniper positions. Terrain advantage. Civilians nearby. High risk. Reed looked at his team. Command wants us to take the ridge. Someone asked the question no one wanted to say. What about the attachment? Reed looked toward Evelyn, sitting alone, cleaning her rifle with methodical care. She stays behind. Evelyn looked up. I can help, she said. Reed shook his head. This isn't a range. She met his eyes without flinching. My father died on that ridge. Same cell, same tactic that stopped him. How do you know? Reed asked. She slid a folded satellite photo across the table. Because I helped map it. The room went quiet. Reed stared at her for a long moment. Fine, he said. You observe. You do not fire unless ordered. She nodded. They moved before dawn. The ridge was worse than expected. Wind unpredictable. Visibility poor. Enemy shooters dug in deep. The SEALs advanced, and then the first shot cracked. One of theirs went down. Shoulder hit. Not fatal, but pinned. Then another shot. Close. Too close. They're walking us in, Rourke growled. Reed scanned the rocks, optics sweeping, but he couldn't see the shooter. Evelyn was already adjusting. 11 o'clock. Upper shale. Mirage distortion. Reed snapped toward her. What? She handed him the scope. Reed looked. There, just a shimmer. How? Crack. The enemy sniper's rifle went silent. Reed turned back just in time to see Evelyn chamber another round. Permission to fire? She asked calmly. Reed hesitated, then nodded. What happened next changed everything. She moved like she'd been born on that ridge. Every shot calculated. Every breath measured. Enemy positions collapsed one by one. SEALs who had mocked her now relied on her calls. Rourke whispered, awed, she's out shooting all of us. By the time extraction came, the ridge was silent. Reed looked at the girl who had walked in as an attachment. and walked out as something else entirely. "You saved my team," he said. She shook her head. "I finished my father's mission." The SEALs didn't laugh anymore. They saluted. The Part 2 word traveled fast through the base. Not gossip. Respect. The 18-year-old attachment was now whispered about in mess halls and briefing rooms. A teenage sniper who had outshot an entire SEAL team under live fire. Some didn't believe it. Others wanted proof. Command ordered a full evaluation. Reed stood beside Evelyn at the long concrete range as senior operators watched from behind bulletproof glass. These weren't average shooters. These were legends. Point one instructor muttered. "Let's see if the miracle holds." They ran impossible drills. Moving targets. Wind shifts. Time pressure. Evelyn never rushed. She listened to the air, watched dust, felt recoil like a heartbeat. Round after round. Perfect. A senior SEAL finally exhaled. "She's not trained. She's engineered." Reed corrected him. "She's earned." Later that night, Reed found Evelyn alone again. "You know they'll never let you stay a civilian," he said. She nodded. "I know." "Why do this?" he asked. "You're 18. You could walk away." She looked up at the stars. "Because people like my father don't get second chances," she said, "but missions do." The next morning, Command changed her designation and no longer an attachment, provisional asset. The SEALs didn't mock her anymore. They asked for her opinion, listened to her calls, and when another mission came, harder, darker, deadlier, there was no debate. "She's with us," Reed said. The teenage sniper adjusted her rifle. Ready. The first thing she noticed when she woke up was the quiet. Not the hollow, abandoned quiet of bus stations and alleyways she had grown used to, but a clean, controlled stillness. The kind that existed only inside military hospitals and command buildings. The air smelled faintly of antiseptic and coffee. Somewhere down the hall, boots moved with purpose. She opened her eyes slowly. White ceiling. Soft light. A blanket tucked around her shoulders. For a split second, instinct took over. Her muscles tensed. She swung her legs off the bed, scanning the room, ready to fight or flee. "You're safe." The voice came from the doorway. Chief Ryan Keller stood there in uniform, arms crossed, watching her with the same steady calm he'd once had under fire. "Still breathing," she said flatly. He nodded. "Still stubborn, too." She looked down at her hands. Clean, bandaged where frostbite had started to bite deeper than she'd admitted. Someone had taken care of her while she slept. "I didn't ask for this," she said. "I know," Keller replied. "You never did." A knock sounded, and an older man stepped in. Silver hair, dress uniform, rank that made rooms go quiet. She stood instantly, back straight, heels together. The general stopped her with a raised hand. "At ease, Sergeant." Her breath caught. "Sergeant, I was told you were dead," the general said gently. "So was I," she answered. He studied her for a long moment, eyes lingering on the old patch Keller had placed carefully on the table beside her bed. "Christmas Eve," he said. "Task Force Black Lantern." Her jaw tightened. "You remember." "I remember the men who didn't come back," he said, "and the woman who made sure some of them did." Silence settled between them like falling snow. "We failed you," the general continued. "We buried your name because it was easier than admitting the truth." "And the truth is," she asked, "that you were left behind." The words landed heavy. "You survived without us," he said. "That doesn't erase what happened. But it does mean this: your service stands. Your rank stands. And your story will be told." She looked away, blinking hard. "I didn't do it for recognition," she said. "I know," Keller said quietly. "You did it because no one else could." That night, the base chapel filled without announcement. No cameras, no speeches, just soldiers, active, retired, broken, healed, drawn by word of mouth and instinct. Christmas Eve again. She stood at the front, wearing a uniform that felt strange and familiar all at once. Sleeves newly pressed, boots polished, metal she hadn't known she'd earned resting against her chest. Keller stood beside her. "When I thought you were gone," he said softly, "I carried that night with me every day." She met his eyes. "So did I." The chaplain spoke briefly, voice steady, honoring service and sacrifice. Names were read, candles lit. When Keller pinned her insignia, his hands shook just slightly. "Welcome home," he said. For the first time in years, the words didn't feel like a lie. Outside, snow covered the ground in quiet white. Just like the night everything went wrong. And somehow, right later, as dawn crept in pale and cold, she stood alone near the base gate, watching the horizon. "Where will you go?" Keller asked. She thought for a moment. "Forward." He smiled as she walked away. She wasn't invisible anymore. She wasn't homeless. She wasn't forgotten. She was a soldier who survived Christmas Eve, and this time, the world finally saw her. This story is brought to you by her brave stripes. If you believe untold heroes deserve their voices heard, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments. Where are you watching from today?